Okay, cool. Cool. Thanks, Tammy. Thanks for reminding me. That's why I need you sitting here. Anyway, so we always said that when we get involved in a company or an organization, what we want to do is we really want to come in and just make HR shine. We want to make them the heroes of the workplace. So one thing that we have learned is often within a space of HR, there's this thing of conflict resolution. You know, there's this big issue around just people struggling with conflict, and often your HR person or some manager person is stuck in the middle of that. They need to resolve it, and sometimes be completely ridiculous, and then they still need to resolve it. And so the one thing that I want to bring to you today is just a quick understanding from a neuroscience perspective how the mind works concerning conflict. And then give you 2 or 3 things that I want you to take away and just go and try it and go and play with it and see if it makes your life better. All right, so that's going to be that's the intention or my agenda of the session. Can I just say, for starters right now, because I might forget, that one thing that we really want to do is we want to give you a chance just to connect outside of this meeting with us as well. And so, Tammy, have you in the chat box, if you can just maybe put that link in there. Oh, there you go. We offer sounds such a saley word. I don't know how to say. We want to really give a space where we can connect and just chat about where you are at and within your business, all right? And so that is a free, let's call it free leadership alignment strategy consultation session. And you just go to that link and you click on it and you book it. And that will just give us some time to sit with you and hear what are your challenges, and maybe just give you a few tips and tricks that is very specific to your context, all right? There's no cost involved. This is really us that want to just share what we have with you, all right? And so feel free to go and click on that and book your session. So then the second thing I want to do is I'm quickly going to just type my email address in the chat box for you. If you have any questions after our session or anything that I can provide clarity for, then feel welcome to email me. All right, so I'm going to jump straight in. Someone asked me how long will this session be. I'm going to keep it as short as I can, kind of aim for 90 minutes, but leaving a big chunk of time open for you guys to ask questions if it is relevant. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start by sharing a model. I want you to remember this model for the rest of your life. And it's a model that we use that's very simple as to how the mind works, All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you. If you want to draw it. If you want to take a screenshot, take a screenshot. But this is worth getting a tattoo, you know, in this model. And I'm going to talk us through this a little bit in our session today. All right. Now, let's start with conscious, subconscious. All right. You have all heard about the conscious and the subconscious before, right? I assume you have. There's something else. Some people call it the creative subconscious, but we like to call it what it actually is a filter in your brain called the reticular activating system. And a little bit later, I'll get back to the function and the purpose of the reticular activating system. All right, but let's just first look at conscious and subconscious. We all know that, let's do this quickly. Can I ask you to do the following activity for me? I want you to relax your arms next to your sides. Just relax your arms next to your sides. All right, will you do that for me? Okay, now I want you to cross your arms for me quickly. Just cross your arms. Yeah, all right, now relax your arms again, and cross your arms again the other way around. Cool. Now tell me quickly, what was the difference between the first time crossing your arms and the second time crossing your arms? The first time was natural, automatic, right? And the second time you had to think about it. All right, cool. So you've got the conscious, subconscious. All right. I'm saving you a lot of money today because people write these big books about the subconscious mind. I'm saving you a lot of money. The first I'm going to ask you to cross your arms. You did it without thinking. That was a subconscious action. The second time I asked you to cross your arms was a conscious action. You had to think about it. All right. Now, that is what you need to understand in this model. Conscious is all about thinking. It is energy hungry. Your brain doesn't like to spend a lot of energy on it. And so what it does, it takes information from a conscious level and it tries to store it on the subconscious level so that it can sit there and then you can do things without thinking about it. 2 + 2 is 4. You didn't work it out now. You just been like, I've got this, it's 4. So you can do complex stuff because it went from a conscious thinking level once in your life and it's stored on the subconscious. And now when you need the information, it is just there automatically. If you think about driving a car, in the beginning, you will sit there and you're so tense and, the sweat is dripping off your face and your leg is shaking and you need to observe and put the indicator on and it's clutch and it's petrol. And it's so intense because it's so conscious. But then you do it a couple of times and it's settled in the subconscious and now it sits there. And now you can drive somewhere without even thinking in what gear the car is. It's just happening automatically. All right, so you understand that part of our model. Okay, now, according to this model, there are other models, but I enjoy this one. There are 4 processes that you go through with all your decision making. I'm going to say this again. According to this model, there are 4 processes you go through with all your decision making. The first process is perception. You see something, you hear something, you taste it, you smell it, or you feel it, but somehow through your senses, you perceive your environment. So that's the first process of all decision making. The second thing that takes place is what we call association. Now, with association, your brain just asks the question, where have I seen this before? That's it. There was a time that you didn't know how to cross your arms, by the way. So you learned that. You weren't, if you don't believe me, go to a maternity ward. You will never see a baby being born going like, yes, mom, here I am now. Like they don't do it, all right? So somehow you perceived it and you've learned how to cross your arms. And now that is sitting on your subconscious, all right? And so now today you perceive me saying, let's cross our arms, all right? So you hear that through your senses, and immediately your brain says, where have I heard that before? Where have I seen that before? And then the third process kicks in, which is evaluation, and it says, and what does it mean? And then the fourth one is you make a decision. If you think about, let's say you drink a glass of milk. Now you have drank milk in your life, so you know what it tastes like. So that taste sits on the subconscious level. So I take a sip of milk, I perceive it through my senses, I associate it with what is stored on the subconscious, like the taste of milk. I evaluate it, and now I will say, does it taste the same? Is it the same of what I perceive and what is stored? And if it's not the same, the brain will evaluate and say, what does it mean? And you will go like, well, most probably it's sour, and you will spit it out, all right? So all our decision making, according to this model, runs through our conscious perception, through a subconscious layer, and then back to conscious decision making. Does that make sense? I feel I'm going too deep, too big, too quickly, but you're all good. Okay, so we're all good. Now, I want to use this model to show you what conflict is in the brain, okay? Because, people, when we talk about conflict, they go into fright and flight mode and all sorts. Nah, I'm saving you, making it a lot simpler today. When what I perceive is different from what is stored in my subconscious, there's a conflict. That's how easy it is. When I taste something that should taste like milk, but it is different from what my understanding or my belief is of what milk should be, what's stored in the subconscious, there's a conflict. So it's what I perceive on a conscious level differs from the subconscious. That is what we call a conflict. If I get home and I expected a house being nice and tidy, and I get home and there's just kids' toys all over the place and towels on the floor, you know. It doesn't look like what I believe it should look like, right? That's what my brain sees. Now there's a conflict. Or let's say you get to work and you know, we're working from home all the time, and now they tell you to come back home, back to the office, and I'm going to sit at my desk, and all of a sudden my desk is gone. In other words, what I perceive is not the same as what I believe it should be like. Now there's a conflict. And so that is all that a conflict is. Its perception is different from what is stored on the subconscious. Now, when we think about a conflict between two people, it becomes super cool, because what you're dealing with now is I perceive something about you, and that thing is not the way I believe it should be. And you perceive something about me on a conscious level, but it is not the same as what you believe it should be. And now we are sitting with that tension. Now, as soon as your brain experiences a conflict, if this elastic band is the difference, let me just zoom out for a second that you can see this clearly, because this is vital. If this elastic band is two conflicting ideas, this is what I perceive, and this is what is stored on my subconscious. So what you find in that moment is I cannot live with that conflict, and now my brain wants to resolve it. It either wants to pull this one down so that the conflict is missing, or it wants to pull this one up so that the conflict is gone, but it can't live with the conflict. It can't stay within that conflict. Does that make sense? Oh man, I so wish we could just all see each other and turn on the mics and talk about this. Does that make sense? So as soon as what I perceive is different from what my belief is, there's a conflict, and your brain, we call this cognitive dissonance. Your brain doesn't like that dissonance. It doesn't like that tension. And now it will do everything in its ability to get rid of that tension. So either what I see on the outside, my perception, needs to change to match the inside, or the inside needs to change to match the outside, but it can't stay in that conflict. All right. Did you get that? Either what I perceive on the outside needs to change to match my inside. I will fight about it. I will make you see the truth. I will show you that I'm right, you know, so that whatever you believe change into what I believe is the truth. Or I would need to change what I believe is the truth into what you are telling me is the truth. But I can't live with the tension in both. Does that make sense to you? I hope so. Now, with that in mind, there's something I want to share with you about this subconscious as well, a truth. And to do this, I need you to open your chat box for me, okay? So now is your time to open your chat box, because there's a part in the brain, and they don't teach us this, and they should teach us this. It's called the reticular activating system, and it's this part that you see on the right-hand side, the RAS. And the RAS, the reticular activating system, plays a vital role in how this conflict between what I perceive and what is stored as my truth, how it's being managed all the time. All right, so chat box open. If your chat box is open, I want you to go and find my name, all right? So I think I'm just there as Cobus. So if you just find Cobus with the C, it should most likely be at the top. Find my name. I don't want you to send this to everybody. And then just quickly send me a text. Just send hi or bye, or no, don't say bye. Just say hi or something. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, cool. So it's working. All right, direct messages. That's what I want, a direct message to me. Okay, cool. I'm going to put a sentence on the screen for you, all right? And while the sentence is on, I just want you to read the sentence for me. That's what we're going to do. Just read the sentence. Okay. Yes, it's the sentence. It says, finished files are the result of years of scientific study combined with the experience of many years of experts. All right? Got that? Okay, cool. Now what I want you to do is I'm going to put that sentence back on the screen, and I want you to read it again, but I want you to send a direct message about the following. I want you to read and count how many F's do you see in that sentence. All right. I'll put the sentence back up. direct message me the number of Fs that you see in this sentence. Finished files are a result of years of scientific study, combined with experience of many years of experts. I'll give you a few seconds to just read that again. I want you to open the chat box, find my name, direct message, and then you just send me the number. Okay, it's coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, it's coming in. Let me just open the chat box again. Brilliant. I like what I see. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'll start giving you some feedback. Let me just 2-3 more people send in because this is fascinating. All right, I won't name your name, but I've got a 3, I've got a 2, I've got a 0, I've got a 2, I've got a 7, I've got a 6, I've got a 3, I've got a 3, I've got a 3, and I've got a 2, and I've got a 3. Okay, it seems like if we had to vote about it, was the same sentence, right? I mean, okay. It seems like if we had to vote about the answer as to how many Fs, clearly it must be 3 because I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 of you saw 3 Fs. Then there's quite a few of you that saw 2 Fs, by the way. So 3 and 2 is very popular. I did get no 5s, no 5s, no 4s, no 4s. I did get a 6 and I did get 1 7. There were 7 Fs in that sentence, by the way. There were 7 Fs in that sentence. I mean, I know it's a long day. It's kind of at the end of the day. Let's just, for the sake of time, finished 1, files 2, of 3, of 4, scientific 5, of 6, of 7. There are 7 Fs in that sentence. What did you miss? What did you miss? Gabriel, I hear a big ooh there. What did you miss? All right, some of you misheard me. Thank you for that. You thought I said ifs, ofs, my old Afrikaans pronunciation. But for those of you that did get 3 or 2 Fs, or even 6, what did you miss? What do you think? Just type it in there in the chat box. What do you think was the big missing thing? Yeah? Yes, ofs. But why would you miss the obs? They're so obvious. I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you in a second. We're going to come back to this because I need to introduce the reticular activating system to you. But let me just quickly, let's do something else. I'm going to show you a picture and I want you to look at this picture and I want you to just type into the chat box directly to me. What did you see in this picture? All right, just I'm going to give it to you for 3 seconds. Are you ready? Steady, go. Just type into the chat box, what do you see? In 3, 2, 1, I'm going to take my picture away. And the question is, what did you see on the screen? Okay, they are coming in. I like it. I like it. I'm waiting for a few more. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, all right. A rocking bird. I like that. All right. I'm just waiting for a few more people. I just want to kind of build a case here. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. So let me quickly tell you what our audience is seeing on the screen. Once again, the same picture, right? It seems like quite a few of you saw a duck. I get a duck, a bird, a duck, a duck, a bird. Then I get a rabbit. Then I get a rocking bird. I get a duck and a rabbit. I get a rubber duck and a bunny rabbit. Then I get a snail and a rabbit. And then I get a rabbit. So that's the combination of what people saw on the screen, all right? Absolutely love that. By the way, for all of you that did see a duck, I also do personal counseling. You got my email address. You can just contact me and I can see if I can sort you out somehow. No, I'm just joking. It can be obviously a duck or a rabbit, all right? It can also be a snail or whatever else you smoke and want to tell me it is, it's fine. But when you look at this little duck or rabbit or snail, so let me just get out a nice spotlight thingamajig. I think this will work. So if it is the duck, then this is the eyeball. It's looking upwards. That will be the beak. That will be the foot. And these will be the tail feathers, right? So some of you might not be able to see it, but that's what's happening. That's the eyes looking upwards towards the ceiling. That's the beak, and that's the foot, and this is the tail feathers. Now, you might want to turn your head a little bit to the other side to see the rabbit. If it's a rabbit, it's looking that way. The mouth would be over here somewhere. This will be the bunny ears or the rabbit ears, the little bunny tail, and that will be the leg. All right. Now, even though I show this to you, some of you might still not be able to see it, and that's okay. All that it means is that your reticular activating system is working super well. Now, just quickly, let's just quickly, I don't want to lose you in this. I showed you this, and we spoke about conscious and subconscious. We said you perceive through your conscious, your brain associate what is stored in the subconscious. It then also, it says, where have I seen this before? It then asks the question, and what does it mean? And then you make a decision. You drive the vehicle, you see a lot of traffic standing still, and immediately your brain goes like, where have I seen this before? And it takes you back to where you have seen this before, which is stored in the subconscious. You evaluate, and your brain says, and what does this mean? You go like, oh, there's an accident, or there was I don't know, it's just normal traffic maybe for you, or police are stopping cars. And then you make a decision to take a detour, or to turn on the radio, or to get irritated, all right? And so that is the process that your brain is following. Now, the reticular activating system sits here on the side, and its job is to whatever is stored in the subconscious, to keep it there. It is to make sure that you do not change, all right? Now, what it literally is just a filter sitting in the back of your brain, sits here in the stem of your brain. And what it decides to do is it lets through information that it believes is of personal value to you, and it would block certain information that goes through to the brain that is not of value to you. That's what it does. You know, it lets through some information and it blocks some information. Now, the reason why the brain is doing this is at any given moment, we are told, I don't know how they do the sum, because in my mind it should be way more than this, but at any given moment, you are bombarded, your senses, with about 2 million bits of information per second. Sounds, smells, things that you feel. I mean, if you think about it, the fact that you know that you're not naked is because your body is feeling clothes all the time, all right? The fact that you know that you are not floating around is because your body is aware of your feet being on the ground all the time. And so the whole time you are bombarded with 2 million bits of information every second. But if you had to interpret all of that within that second, your brain will bomb. You won't be able to focus. You will be like, oh, you know, you won't be able to drive. You will drive and say, oh, look at the clouds and look like a little bear and look at that, you know, and oh, there's a little leaf in a taxi, you know, and it's just too much information to process all at the same time. And so what your brain does, it says, I need to select some of this information that I will interpret, and some of it I will block. I will just not, the light will come in, you will see it, you will hear it, but the brain will not interpret it. Does that make sense? I don't know, because you can't say yes or no. Anyway, I mean, you can, but you don't want to. All right, so that is the process that you experience. Now, this is what we know, that only 2,000 of the 2 million is being let through. I'm going to say that again. Only 2,000 of the 2 million bits of information is being let through the reticular activating system to be interpreted. In other words, Cobus, that's a 50th of everything that's happening around me. I know. So what happens to the other 49 realities or parts of information? Well, they are there. You just don't experience it. In other words, you do not see all there is to see happening around you. You do not hear everything that there is to hear, all right? It's there, but your brain won't allow you to experience it all. It needs to select out of this band of 2 million, it needs to select 2,000, and it only selects that what it believes is important to you. Really, Cobus? Really? Well, you do know what an F looks like, right? Like an F, you know? I mean, come on. You just did it. You just looked at a sentence, you just read that sentence, and for most of you, all the information didn't come through. Now, why? Why not? Well, if you think about it, when you were in grade 1, the teacher said, "Good morning, class," and you said, "Good morning, teacher." And she said, "Hey, today we are going to look at the letter F. We're going to look at the letter F." And you said, "F, teacher?" And she said, "Yes, F, teacher." And she said, "This is a for fish, all right? So that is a for fish." Now, when she said for fish, you went like, "Okay, we got this." The reticular activating system says, "Okay, I'm going to remember that that is looks like a for fish and it sounds like a for fish." And so whenever you're looking at an F or looking for an F sound, that is what I'm going to let through to be interpreted. And so a couple of years later, Cobus comes along and says, "Good evening, afternoon, well, it was a good afternoon, class. Today I've got a sentence for you. Finished files are a result of years of scientific study combined with the experience of many years of experts. Find the Fs." And when I said find the Fs, the reticular activating system said, everything that looks like a F and sounds like a F, I will let through. I'm going to interpret that. But if it doesn't look and sound like it, I most likely won't interpret it because it's not important. I'm going to cut out. I just need to scan the environment to find the important information. And so you read finished. You go like, yes, it sounds like a for fish. File sounds like a for fish. Scientific sounds like a for fish. But of sounds like a and the reticular activating system scanning the 2 million bits of information every second says, we are not looking for sounds. We're looking for sounds for fish. And the light comes in, but you don't necessarily, it comes in, it goes, you will see your visual impulses clips the reticular activating system at the top, and it goes to the brain. But the OFS is just not interpreted. The brain says, not important information. When I scan my environment, that's not the 2000 bits that I'm going to select. All right. Oh, man, I wish I was in a big room with a flip chart and I could just sit and chat with you. But I hope this makes sort of sense. The same with the duck and the rabbit. Some of you saw a duck and some of you saw a rabbit. The reason why some of you didn't see both, some of you did. But the reason why some of you saw a duck and some of you saw a rabbit was because the reticular activating system said, hey, I am selecting information that I believe is important to you when you look at this picture. Some of you saw a snail. That's for some reason that was more important to you than a duck, all right? And so that thing scans the whole time and it selects information. Now, if you know that, now let's get back to conflict. I mean, if you know that, then you will understand that my truth and my reality that I put on the subconscious level, we can really put that in inverted commas. Because, I mean, Cobus, I can read, right? I know what an F looks like, right? I mean, I didn't lie about it. It was my truth. When you said, how many Fs? And I said there were 3 Fs. That was my truth. That is what my perception told me there was. And that was my reality. And so when we start looking at people and conflict, remember, conflict is just what I perceive doesn't line up with my reality. We often find that it is just an issue of what the reticular activating system lets through. Some person say, this is a duck. And the other one says, no, it is a rabbit. And this one will say, but it must be a duck. I mean, can you see the beak? And the others, no, it's a bunny rabbit. You know, it's got little ears and stuff. And then this person will go, why are you always so difficult? Why do you always need to swim upstream? Why can't you just like, come on? Why are you not a team player? And you're like, oh my word, I really think it is a duck, okay, or a bunny. And then they'll feed the duck or you will get a written warning. Go and feed the duck. And then I go, oh my word, I don't want to get fired. So now I go and feed the duck and then the bunny dies and then I get fired anyway. And so as soon as you start to understand that when there's conflict, most likely the conflict is just because my truth and my reality is different from your truth and reality. In fact, there is 49 different truths or realities in this very moment that we can have about the same thing. You just did it. You just looked at the same picture and saw 2 different things. No, it's okay when we talk about a duck and a rabbit and we play. But when we start working with 100,000, 500,000, a million rand budget, that's kind of different, you know. When I need to appoint people and now it doesn't work out the way I thought it would, now there's a problem. And so what you need to understand about the RAS is whatever your truth is, whatever your reality is, that needs to sustain that by showing you that you are correct, that you are truthful. I wonder, do I have time to tell a little story? I think I do have time to tell a little story. Question is, which story will I tell? Let me go with this one. I had a friend in Johannesburg, and she told the story. She said she said that her husband, she was so attracted to this guy because he was like, well, do you call it like a diamond in the rough? You know, he's just like a rough guy, all right? And so they were married for years, and he was, I think, in his late 40s, and he still wanted to make it in a band. So he would just be in the garage. He was a drummer, and he would just, you know, drum, and one day I'm going to go big and I'll make it in the band. And obviously now she needs to generate the income and, you know, get the money in. But her husband, he is just, one day I'll be a famous drummer, okay? The other thing she told me about him is that he never, he wasn't good with like anniversaries or birthdays or stuff like that, all right? So he will often just forget. He was not a very romantic guy. In fact, he had a T-shirt, and on this T-shirt, he was a biker, so they had a bike, and they would go on drives on Sundays with the bike. And she would say that he would drive, and he would have a T-shirt on, and at the back of the T-shirt, it would say, "If you can read this, the bitch fell off," you know? So that was her husband. And she said in the beginning, I was very attracted to this guy that's just so different. But she said, you know, eventually you're kind of like, it would be nice if you remember my birthday, okay? And she tells the story where she's on her way. I think she was from PE, but she had this meeting in Joburg, and she was sitting at a coffee table before a meeting, preparing for it, and she got up, and a lot of her papers like fell out of a bag or off the table, and like a typical movie scene, this guy with a suit on, like Harvey Specter, you know, with his suitcase or a little, what do you call it? Yeah, near suitcase, briefcase. He came and he walked and he kind of knelt next to her and said, "Oh, sorry," and he helped her pick it up, and he gave it to her, and he said, "I hope it goes well with the meeting," and he left. And she was very thankful, and she rushed off to the meeting. And the next day, she was sitting at the same coffee shop. And so the same gentleman approached her and walked past her, and he said, "Hey, by the way, how did it go with your meeting yesterday?" And he said, what kind of business are you in? And he pulled out a chair, and he was sitting there, and now they start talking, and then they said that maybe there's business to be done, and exchange numbers. And on her birthday, she gets a WhatsApp from this guy saying, "Hey, I just want to say happy birthday," while her husband is sitting in the garage, forgot about her birthday. And now something's happening inside of her. There's a conflict. And the conflict is what I'm perceiving and what I know it should be is not the same. Now, I can't live with that conflict, right? I mean, I want to be a faithful wife to my husband. I said, till death do us part. But now I'm perceiving something which I actually enjoy a lot, by the way. And now there's this conflict, and your brain wants to get rid of the conflict, and it will either change the inside to fit the outside, or it will change the outside to fit the inside. But I can't live with the tension. And now the reticular activating system kicks in. It says, I need to filter through the information you need to make a decision to get rid of the conflict. And so now she tells a story, a fascinating story. She says, "Cobus, I am cooking, and the television is on, and I never watch Oprah, but the channel is just on Oprah, it's just there. And I hear a discussion where Oprah speaks to divorced ladies about a second chance in life and all the joy and the hope that they kind of walked in when they divorced their husbands." And she said, "Cobus, but I never even listened to Oprah. Like, why would you like?" And then she opens a magazine, and it's a story about this lady that went through a very difficult time in a marriage, and then got divorced and went on a journey with another guy and living happily ever after. And she says, like this article is just like, how does this happen? And then she says, I sit in church, and the pastor, he preaches from the Bible about how God will look after the widower and give her. I'm like God is speaking to me, you know. And she said, then I had to make a choice. I really need to step into the space. And I had a decision. I could either go and speak to my pastor, or I can speak to a friend that went through a divorce and lived happily ever after. Who do you think you should go and speak to? You see, as soon as there's a conflict, the reticular activating system wants to get rid of that conflict, and it starts screening that 200 million bits of information per second coming through. And it goes and selects something that will make sure that you can build a new truth or new reality, or stick to your old truth or reality, but it will keep you, or it will tweak. It will sometimes make you miss the F's just to get you to understand something, or it will make you just see a duck or a rabbit just to, you know, to stick you to a truth, to get rid of the conflict. Now, this is vital. I'm going to come back to this at the end, because this is vital for you as a person stepping into someone else, maybe as a mediator, or maybe as a facilitator of a conflict situation. This is vital to understand this, all right? And I'll tell you in a few minutes why. But I want to give you two things, and if you get this, oh man, I get so excited about this. I just feel like, oh, we need a week with this, but let me give you this to you. You're clever enough to run with this on your own, all right? So let's do this. There are two things that your brain will start looking at to resolve the conflict. Remember, it doesn't like the conflict. It picks up something that's different from what you are used to, or what you believe it should be. That causes tension, and now it wants to get rid of it. Reticular activating system will help to get rid of it. And so now it starts looking at two things when you are in that conflict situation. The first thing that it looks at is the importance of the relationship in which that conflict sits. How important is that relationship? Is this conflict with your wife or a child or the CEO of the company, which is obviously of high importance? Or is this conflict with the person that's kind of just like looking inside of your bin, you know, you don't even know what their name is, and you know, so there's no relationship there. You just see this person there, right? So that's the first thing that your brain would like start scanning at and say, okay, oh, this is going to be vital in what I'm going to let through and how I'm going to deal with this. The second thing that it's going to look at is the importance of the issue. Is it so important that this affects my job or my relationship or my marriage? Or so how important is this? Or is it just like, hey, I just don't appreciate it if the guy that's like digging in my bin moves the bin to the one side, you know, it doesn't really matter, but it just irritates me, you know. So how important is that issue? Now the brain, doesn't matter how small or how big it is, it needs to get rid of the tension. So it starts screening, it starts getting information, and then it starts resolving this conflict. Now, what we know is that if the relationship is low, there's a low relation, and it's a low issue, what the brain often does, it kicks into delay mode. It kicks into avoidance mode. And so what the brain is doing, like, yeah, I know there is a conflict. I mean, a conflict is a conflict. You can't get away from a conflict. If that's all that you learn from me today, is your whole life is full of conflicts. That's how you keep alive. Conflict is not a bad thing. It's how we deal with them that's bad, by the way. If it's not for a conflict, you will die. It's when my brain picks up, I'm hungry and I shouldn't feel hungry anymore. Now there's a conflict, and now the brain goes like, now go and resolve the conflict. Thank you very much, the tension, and then I go and eat something. So we operate on tension and on conflicts. So it's not about avoiding conflicts. It's about dealing with them effectively. So when the conflict is a low importance, low issue, then often we just kick into delay mode, avoidance. When I have time, I'll look at it, maybe the next time, we just don't react to that. Now, what we're going to come, I'm going to give you three things that I want you to go and play with and work with. But what I want you to understand is, just because it's a low issue and low relationship, don't let it take away from the idea that there sits a conflict. All right. It doesn't mean that the conflict is less. The conflict is conflict. Your brain will see it as a conflict. It is just, this is how our brain tries to get out of the conflict. It's kind of ignore it for now. Can we just push it aside? That's what the brain is doing. And I'm going to come back to you and say, that's the last thing you want to do. Because what's happening now is the conflict is there, but you are avoiding the conflict. You are delaying the conflict. And now what the brain does is, oh, I need to get rid of this. So reticular activating system, let us do something. Let's build a case. Let me share with you this crazy story. I can't believe that this is real, but we worked with a company and this is what HR had to deal with. Some people in the company, it started with one person, by the way, was very unhappy with the smells in the bathroom after a certain person used the bathroom. All right. And they came to HR to sort it out. They're like, really? Is that it? No, in my mind, I'm like, whatever, you're all grown up, sort it out yourselves, you know. But maybe that's just me avoiding the issue, because in my mind, it's like, it's their issue, relationship-wise, and it's not that important. I need to retrench people. So, I mean, that's more important, right? And so avoiding it. But now, because the conflict sits with that person still needs to resolve it. And if it's not being resolved now, the reticular activating system is going to say, we need to build a case here. And so now while I'm making tea, I'm going to, you know what, this HR is useless, you know. I went to them with the problem and they just don't care, you know. And by the way, that guy is such an idiot. Did you see that? And now someone else goes, yeah, I see it, because now the reticular activating system is open. More important information is going to get, I see it. And then we have another coffee. And then we have a whole pity party going on. And then everybody's sucked into the smell of the bathroom. That sounded weird, sucked into the smell of the bathroom. Okay, whatever word you want to put in there. But now all of them are like, you know, and loser management, which could all have been avoided if we didn't avoid the issue, all right? But this is what the brain does. It wants to get rid of it. And so if it's avoided, it will build a case to increase the importance of that issue, all right? So that's the one thing that the brain does. When the relationship is high, in other words, this is the CEO stepping in and saying, guys, this is ridiculous that someone would moan about the smell of a bathroom. No more of this. If you're not happy about this, then you can leave and find another company. You know, I mean, high relationship, right? I mean, he's the boss, all right? So whatever he says. And then often what the brain does, it says, I'm going to yield to it. I will just accommodate, you know. So the relationship is important. Maybe the issue is not that important, but the brain just goes, I'm just going to yield to it. I'll just take it. But it doesn't take away the conflict. The tension will still be there. And now the brain would need to make a case to get rid of the conflict. And now the brain will go like, oh, what an idiot boss, you know, he doesn't care. He never cares about us. Did you see, like reticular activating system, Richard Branson said that your people need to be your biggest asset, your greatest asset. In this company, we are just workers here. And the brain is building this case because it needs to get rid of the conflict. And then people leave companies because of the idiot boss in their minds. But in reality, it was about a smell in the bathroom. All right. So the first thing we can avoid, what we find when the relationship is important, we start to accommodate. The third thing, I mean, that we see is competition. When the issue is low, when the relationship is low, but the issue is high, what we find is people just want to win at no cost. Like, I will fight to the death. You know, like, I don't care who gets hurt in this. You know, if I have to quit because of this, I will do that. I'll fight to the death, but I'm going to walk out the winner, and I do not care about the losers. All right, so that's often then how the brain gets rid of it. Is if the first two with low relationship or low issue, what we find there is that the outside often has a say over the inside. But when it goes to high issue, then the inside wants to change the outside at all costs to get rid of the tension. And these people can do harm. We have heard of people that would take a can of Coke and walk up to the company servers and just throw the Coke all over the servers because I will show them I am angry and I'm going to win. These people that sit with often low important relationship, but in their mind high important issues can really be destructive to the company, but not as destructive as the next one. And this is unfortunately what we are being told to do. And that is to compromise. I mean, I've got this person fighting with that person. And so now, how do we fix it? Well, we compromise. We get them to a place where there's middle ground. If there's one thing that you can take from me today, is don't do that. That is probably the worst way of helping people to resolve conflict, because all that you've done is you're saying, okay, you still got attention and you still got attention, but now we can agree about the attention a little bit. We're kind of going to get to a place, but this doesn't go away. So you're sitting with people that's truly unhappy and ongoingly unhappy. I'm going to give you this example. We've got a friend, and he shared with us the following. It's just such a cool example of why compromise is bad. So he's an extrovert. He just loves, people. And if it's his choice, he would have people at his house every day, and lots of them. But then he's married to a lady, which is an extreme introvert. If she could be alone, I guess even without him sometimes, then she's at her happiest. And so now that's a very difficult situation, right? There's a lot of conflict because I want to bring people over and I don't want you to bring people over. And so what did they do? Well, they compromised. And so what they said is, so you can bring every now and then a small group of people over to visit. So that's what we're going to do. So not a group, a lot of people, every day, a small group of people every now and then. And so now he is unhappy because, it's not really solving the issue. And she's unhappy because she still wants to be alone and there's still people in the house. And so what we find when we look at compromise, it really never resolves the conflict. There is a better way. There is a better way. And we see often when we find the better way is when we look at how the brain responds to an issue where people are, their relationship is super high and they value the issue as super important as well. And so that is typically what we will call collaboration. That's the win-win situation. And whenever you as an HR deal in any kind of conflict, this is the one you want to go for. This is the one that resolves the tension on both sides. This is the one that the brain goes like, okay, I'm happy. And the other person go like, I'm happy. And the tension is gone. And so when we kind of interact with anybody with conflict resolution and issues, this is the approach. Now, I'm going to give you three things. We're doing good for time. So I'm going to give you three things, and we'll have loads of time for questions if you want to. How do I facilitate the win-win? That's the question. So, Cobus, okay, I get you. Conflict between what I see and what I hear, all right, and now there's this conflict, there's two people, and we don't want them to avoid, we don't want them to accommodate, we don't want them to be in a fight that there's a winner, and we don't want them to compromise because that doesn't really take away the conflict. So how do I facilitate this win-win one? So I'm going to give you three things, and I want you just to go and play with it and thank me later, all right? So the first thing is understand the conflict. Now, this is vital for a person that steps into a mediating role or in a, I think when we sit with issues. And that's why I started off this process of giving you that model. When you understand that a conflict is just this truth of the one person, which is not the truth, by the way. It's a 50th of the truth. It is the duck, or it's the rabbit, or it's 3 F's. It's just a small bit of the truth that sits there, but they believe that's the reality. They will die for that truth. And you sit with another person, which brain is working super well, reticular activating is doing phenomenal work, and they sit with the truth. They sit with a couple of F's or with a duck or a rabbit, all right, on that side. And that's all that the conflict is. And they are perceiving each other's truths, and it just doesn't match up. The brain says, where have I seen that before? What does it mean? And the brain goes, that's bad, that's wrong, it shouldn't be, and that is the conflict. But when you as a mediator, as a facilitator can step into this place and say like, my job in this process is not about good or bad. It's about understanding that two people sit with two different truths. This is the only reason why there's a conflict. It's not because they're trying to be silly. It's not because they are stubborn. It's not because they are ridiculous. They sit with two different realities. And my job is not to say which one is good or bad. My job is to facilitate the process where we can all see the duck and the rabbit. That will make this a lot easier going forward, all right? And I think this is so vital because often as mediators, we feel we are the third party, you know, they called us in, they can't resolve it themselves, and we need to decide what is good and what's bad here. And that is the recipe for disaster. That's not your job. Your job is to understand what the conflict is, all right? The second thing I want to add to that is that whenever there's an issue, even if it's a smelly bathroom, what you need to do in your mind is to escalate that to a high importance on the one side, and on the other side, you need to tell yourself, the end result must be a fantastic relationship. This is how I'm going to engage with this. Even if it's a smelly bathroom, I'm going to step in and say, I'm going to handle this as a high importance issue with a high relationship value, because it's when we hit those two that we can get to the win-win part, all right? So unfortunately, now there's something else that we call prioritizing. You know, if you're still stuck in time management issues, then where have you been? We've moved past time management into energy management, into focus management. And if you say, "Course, what are you talking about?" Come sign up. Well, I love your work course. But often we are stuck with these real big issues in your mind. And that real big issue is we are going through retrenchments. And the person that's complaining is going to be retrenched. They just don't know it yet, you know. And then we avoid it. But what you need to understand is that person is making tea with a lot of other people. That person can be the influence that set up other people, you know. And so whenever there's an issue, we step into that as this is high issue, high importance. And I'm going to value this as a high relationship importance. I'm going to give it to that, because this will have effect on everybody and everything around me. And if we can get to a win-win, even if we're going to retrench that idiot, you know, it will leave a good, oh man, how can I say, it will just boost our company culture. It will just boost what I do as HR. And so sometimes you would need to prioritize. Okay, today I can't, work on the stinky bathroom, but I can tell this person that I'm definitely working on the stinky bathroom today. I need to retrench people. Okay, so that in my job where it sits, it is a priority, but it's not more important in issue or relationship than it is to deal with the stinky bathroom. Does that make sense? So you can prioritize, but it doesn't mean that the importance, we need to pitch all our issues at high importance, our relationship impact. By the way, I would have done this a lot quicker if people go like, yeah, we got that, Cobus, because now I'm just repeating myself 10 times. Okay, now, this is the big one. This is it. So if you wanted to leave now, don't leave now, because this is it. The third thing I want to give you is interest-based approach. Now, the best way to explain this is by telling you the story. I absolutely love the story. So there were these two boys. They were siblings, two brothers, primary school kids, and they both wanted an orange. So there was this orange, and they were both fighting about the orange. And so mom came in. I often hear people at HR saying, like, I feel like a parent to these children. So mom stepped in and said, what is the problem? You need to stop this fighting right now. We need to get rid of this conflict right now. And so the one boy said, I want the orange. The other one said, I want the orange. And they both were fighting about this orange. And so obviously what the mom would do out of her position, she is the third party. She has the authority. She would do what? What do you think? She would compromise, and she would say, give me the orange, and she would cut it in half, and she would give the one half and the other one the other half, and say, there you go. And we know that didn't really solve the conflict, because now they might be slightly happier, but not happy at all, because they both wanted the orange. All right, so that was the problem. So when we go away from position-based, away from me telling you what is good and bad, away from me telling you how it's going to be from now on, and now you kind of chose sides there, you're kind of biased there because, you were like, okay, I think this is the good one, let's go with that. Interest-based approach, oh man, if you can get a tattoo or a pen, write this on your arm right now, this is it. You just ask the question, why is this important to you? That's it. It is trying to find out the interest of the person in this issue. And so if the mom sat down and asked the one son, why is this important to you? He might have said, the teacher at the school said, we need to bring oranges because we're going to do an experiment with the skin where you're going to squeeze the skin in over a little flame and there will be sparks. And so I need the orange, and the other son might say, you know what, the teacher said, whenever you feel not that good or that well, then just take a orange and make some fresh orange juice. And I don't feel well today, so I need some fresh orange juice. So I need the orange. And so if I'm in a place of really understanding the importance of the two, I can tell the one kid, hey, take the orange peel. Here it is. Take it to school. And I can tell the other kid, here's the orange to make a fresh orange juice, the inside. And that will be a win-win. Both will get exactly what they want. But you see, because we step in and think, we understand what their truths are, we understand what they are seeing, and now we need to make the call, and then we cut the orange in half, we say compromise, and there we go, and we sit with unhappy people with a simple question to ask, why is this important to you? And go on that journey with people, understanding what a conflict is, understanding that we're going to make this relationship important and the issue important because for them it is. And so we're going to give it that attention and then really get to why this is important for them. You often get to that win-win answer a lot quicker. Now, by the way, when the tension is high, you might have to probe a little bit, all right? Because I might say, so why is this important to you, this bathroom issue? And the person might say, because it stinks. Like, what more do you want to know? And this is where you're going to take all your relational skills that you have, and you're going to apply that in that question and say, okay, I get it that it stinks, but why is it so important to you that it should stop stinking, that it should stop smelling? And then you might get, and you might need to ask a couple of whys, and then you might get this person to say, look, my desk sits in this draft at the bathroom, all right? And so I can't focus. I struggle to work. When that guy's in there, then I can't focus. Then I go and sit in the cafeteria, and then people think, well, I go and sit and work there, but then people think I'm not working anymore. So this is just, it's got a really negative effect on my work. And when you get that, and then maybe the conflict is between this person and the operations manager that's just not attending to this issue, and this person has been complaining about it so many times, then you can even sit with the operations manager and say, hey, this is a big issue for this one person. Why is it important to you to not attend to this currently? I mean, like what takes your importance currently? Like, what is more important than this? And then the operations manager can say, you know what? The actual issue is that the cleaning company that we have hired, they've quit on us, and so our big problem is we don't have people cleaning the bathroom currently, and so now this person is nagging, and I don't care, because I can't fix that now. And now you've got a much more information to deal with to come to a win-win situation. I mean, now it can be as easy as, operation manager, would you mind if this person just finds another desk somewhere else that sits outside of that draft? And he most likely would say, like, I've got no issue, like just whatever works for that person, just go and get the desk, Or maybe you could say then to the operation manager, should we help finding another cleaning company? Because I see you're very busy with something else, and maybe we can just do that, or just get temporary people in, or, so now you've got real information to work with. And it starts with not you calling the shot as if this is good or bad, I need to resolve this issue, but it's understanding the conflict. They sit with two different truths, escalating it to a high relationship, high importance, and then just start with a simple question is, why is this important to you? And what I want to tell you is you will resolve 99% of the issues with just this approach. We have seen it in companies with 60,000 staff that we've got involved with. We have seen this in companies with 6 or 7. How big were they? Like, I think 7 or 8 staff, and it's just the simple approach. Goodness, what about that 1%? What about that 1%? You know, like, we can't find a win-win. Now, this is the crazy bit, because in a sense, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, but it's going to sound too good to be true. I mean, you might think in our company, like, wow, you know, you guys got this down, probably got no conflict. I counted before we started this. We had 9 people, and we've got a small team. We're not a big team. And we had 9 people leaving us over the last couple of years in our team, and in a relatively small team. But even in them leaving it, we try to always stay within this interest-based approach. And so when they left, it wasn't like they are angry or they are bitter. It's because when I understand what your interest is, and I understand what your interest is, and together we see, like, this will never work out. There is no ways that there will be a win-win situation. It will just not work out. And then what we find is a very mature response to that, and often a person going like, well, I don't think then I can work here any longer. And we go like, oh man, that's sad, but you are right. You are absolutely right. If we can't find the win-win, who are we kidding? Are we just going to live with this tension the whole time? Are we just going to allow the RAS to mess things up, you know, for you, and create this reality that just sucks? And when we both come to this, we look at the interest, and there is just no ways. And like I said, that's the 1%, because 99% you will be able to resolve the conflict. But for the 1%, you might find people that there will not be a win-win. And when there's not a win-win, to compromise is not the answer. To leave is the answer. Now that sounds terrible. Jeez, I can't believe that I'm saying that. But that is the answer. And I can tell you now, out of the 9 people I'm counting, I am still, I want to say, best friends with at least 4 of those people. Some of the other people that left, we are still on very good terms. We still do work. I had a lady that contacted me and said, oh, we want to make use of you. And so we're still working together even. Oh, I did a workshop for one of our people just, when was it, on Friday or Thursday? And so we are still on very good working terms. And there's one person that was not interested in the interest-based, and she was angry, and she threw her toys and she left. And that was it. I think she immigrated. I don't know if that's because she was so angry with us or why she immigrated. Understand that it's not about good or bad. It's about 2 conflicting realities. If you get that, and get that that is their reality, and you can escalate the relationship and the issue to very important, and you can find their interest, you will be able to resolve so much conflict in your team and in your company. All right. Now, I am going to open the floor, and just for anybody that's got questions, maybe I can add. If I can't, then I'm going to bring Tammy in. She's much more detailed than I'm, and so she will be able to assist as well. But I'm just going to throw it out again to you. In the chat box, in the very first chat, if you scroll up, there's a link. That's to a link to our calendar, and we would love to connect with you. Now, Cobus, like, how much are you going to charge? Like, yeah, man. There's 2 things that we are passionate about, and the one thing is to really see change and to really support HR that we have learned over the years. Can be a very tricky. Not only HR, CEOs of companies, certain management positions. People, they find themselves in this weird dilemma between 2 worlds, and it can just really be a tricky place. And we are passionate about connecting with you on the one side. The reality is, obviously, out of our conversation, out of our consultation that's not going to cost anything, there's always a hope that if there is something that we can provide, something that makes sense to you, then we continue the conversation. But that is not the agenda for this first meeting. The first meeting is let's just meet and chat. That is a link to our booking form, to our calendar, so you can just go and make a booking. I'm going to be out of the country for about 2.5 weeks from next week. But if you don't mind, you can just meet with Tammy, with my colleague, and she will really help you. Otherwise, just find a slot and we book it and we chat when I'm back if we can't meet before the time. All right. Otherwise, there's my email address. Please feel free to email me at any time. I'm going to open the floor for any questions, and then you are more than welcome to just, if there's anything I can try to answer, then I'll answer it. This is always the kind of awkward space for me where I turn on my elevator music, the music that you heard at the beginning. That's why you normally hear in the elevator. So I can just sing for you if you want to. But if there's any questions, you can type it into the chat box, or you can just open your mic if you want to, and then I can see if I can assist you with that. I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Tammy, do you want to add something? Oh, fantastic. She's taking over.
No, I've got a question. I want to put a question to you. I want to ask you about what would be your take on people that maybe just have a personality clash, you know? How would you think this could work with that?
Sheesh. I don't want to just jump into a cheap answer here, because I work a lot with people that, you know, we look at they just don't click. They don't click. And I think a big thing that I've learned over the years is I can be in a relationship at work and have a stunning working relationship, but with the understanding that I'm not going to hang out on a bride with this person, you know, I'm not going to become best friends with them, but we can have a great working relationship. So I do want to say it can definitely work, as to at least get to a place where I can come to work and I can do my job and I can enjoy my work and I can work well with that person. So all that conflict is a way. However, we will not become best friends and we will not hang out over weekends, and that's okay. That's okay. I think a lot of people that moved away from, we will call it the orange worldview, you know, the one that are profit and people and you're just a number, and a lot of people are entering this worldview of we are family and family values and family matters. They feel that I need to get along with everybody on a personal level, and I think that will cause more conflict often, because some people I don't click with some people. You know, I ask the IT guy to help me on my computer, and like 3 hours later, I'm like, what is this guy still doing? He's changing all my passwords, and like, come on. There, I can use this to get rid of the conflict. Will I hang out with him over the weekend? No. Sorry, IT guy that works on my computer, but the one says, no, I will not hang out with you over the weekend.
Okay, cool.
All right. Anything else? That was a good question, by the way. You had me there for a second thinking like, oh my word, that is actually a super good question when I think in reality. Okay, here's one. Regarding the step to understand the conflict, labeling the different truths, when one party to the conflict realizes that there are two truths, but the other party refuses to even accept the possibility of another truth, how to move past this? But geez, man, brilliant question. I think the biggest thing is not so much for them to understand that there are two different truths. It's for you to understand that there are two different truths if you are the mediator or the facilitator. Because I guess when we step in and we think there's only one truth, then we go into the good, bad thing. It is often amazing for them to understand that, hey, we can see both a duck and a rabbit, but the chances are slim that they will, because this is their reality. I see the duck, you know, and sometimes you can move them to see both, but that is more for you as the mediator to go like, when I enter this conversation, I need to enter it with, I've got my own truth, They've got different truths, and it will be really helpful for me to understand what they are seeing, to spend time with them. And the way to do that, to get to the truth, is most likely to get to that space of the interest-based approach. That will be the focus. Is why is this so important to you? Why is this so important to you? I think that would be the focus for me.
It's almost like, because, for example, it's a win. So,
Yeah.
so as long as you can understand their truth and you're finding that win-win solution, they can just experience the win on their side. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they can see the win for the other person as well, but you can, as a mediator, understand that there is a win for both, and conflict is resolved on both sides.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. There's something you just said that I wanted to add, but yeah, that is it. There's another question here. How do you deal with racial confrontation in the workplace, especially when you, as the HR person, can see there is no racism in play? How do you explain it in a way without displaying your annoyance at the situation? Oh man, welcome to South Africa. So once again, I think the big thing here is when we really get to the heart of that person, why this issue is important to them. What you might find is a lot of, this is a trigger, like they used to treat my mother like this. And you know that's not the case. You know that that's not the truth. I mean, as HR, you know that that's, but for that person, that is the 2,000 bits that's getting through. That is the reality. And so when I get to that, oh, by the way, I love the duck and rabbit thing. You know, if I have a live audience, I will always ask like a white guy, what did you see? A duck. And then a black guy, what did you see? A rabbit. And then I'll go, okay, go for it. And like, and at the end, it can become intense. You people that always see the ducks, it must be education. It's crazy what that can, come out. And then we do make it personal. We do kind of, and often becomes racial. But I think once again, the key is, why is this issue so important to you? And what that person might tell you is, it's triggering this. And then to another person to have that discussion, why is, and tell me, to have those discussions with people sitting together can be a good thing as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you will use your intuition as to, should I have this with them together or not? But to have that discussion, because I don't need to agree with you to know if this is, racial or not. All I need to do is to understand that the way I've just spoken to you really triggers something that's uncomfortable with you. And so I would often tell a person that you can't say that what I feel is not the truth. Well, what I mean is, my feeling is real. My feeling is truthful. So when I tell you, I feel this way, you can't say, no, you don't feel like this. But no, I feel like you can't tell me what I feel. And so the interest-based approach is, once again, just helping a person go like, why is this important? What does this make you feel like? Oh, that guy with the beard, and the khaki shirt that said I should, like that reminds me of a lot of stuff that makes me uncomfortable. And I think then to go to the khaki shirt and say, why is this important to speak to this guy like that? Well, it's not that important. I just want him to sit up straight in the chair. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about why. And now you have that conversation going. So coming back to...
I want to even add, I think that question is so powerful if you really push it to say, why is the race issue so important to you?
Yeah.
Because now I think a lot of times there's certain cards that people can pull out. Racism is one of the easy ones. COVID is another one. People love to pull the COVID out as an excuse or a case building argument for something. If we go to any kind of religious place, then we can pull the God card out as well. It's an easy way where I don't have to think more about the conflict. I've got a great case for my situation, but just digging a little bit by asking them, by showing interest, saying, tell me more about why is this racism issue so important? So let you say it's about race. Tell me, why is it important to you? And get them to kind of think about it a bit more, I think is really important, because then you might get to what is the actual issue.
Oh, and I think that is so vital, because remember we said that this is subconscious. It's not conscious thinking. Truth says I perceive something and immediately it triggers that something that sits on my subconscious, and I respond without thinking about it. And so most of our conflict is conflict without thinking. It is, I perceive something, it doesn't gel with me, and now I respond without thinking about it. And I guess the interest-based approach is, it helps me to think about it. It helps me to really go, oh, this is the real issue. Now that I know it, it's actually, either it's not that important, or it might still be that important, but I can deal with it. I can manage it in a different way because I know what I'm managing. And so I think that's why
I think that's also, and then the other thing is, I also think that by escalating the small stuff, we might avoid getting to it becoming a racial issue. Because once again, for me, that is where I'm starting to build my case about why this is bigger and more important. It's not just about the word that someone used or the way they addressed me. It becomes huge. So now, my brain is turning it into something much bigger. But if we can catch something when it's smaller and we can actually deal with it right then we can avoid things like that, maybe.
Cool. So I want to give you one last thing. And so for all of you that have stayed and hung around, whose name is hanged around, hung around, I don't know, but it's still there. I often tell people, and this is so vital, and this is why I love HR so much, man, is the difference between success and significance. I often ask them, what's the difference between success and significance? And they're like, oh, success is something, significant. And I'm like, okay, this is very easy, all right? Think about, do you know who Miss South Africa 2011 was? Do you know Miss South Africa 2011 was? Come on, do you know? Now, I saw some people from, let's say Croatia, Romania on the platform earlier, but I think they've left, so they would be off the hook. But the rest of you that's South African, do you know Miss South Africa 2011? Don't Google it. Most likely you don't, but don't stress, because I also don't know who that was. But this is what I want you to understand. Whoever she was successful, right? She won Miss Boereworst Gordijn in Ermelo, and then she went to the U magazine, and then she was shortlisted, and then she went to Sun City, and then she walked out on the red carpet, and then they asked her a question, and she said world peace, and she was crowned Miss South Africa 2011. What a successful person. I think she would even then represent South Africa at Miss Universe. What a successful person. But you do not know what her name was. Can you recall a teacher in school that was a cool teacher? Like, wow, that was a good teacher. Like, significance. A few people in their jobs are in places of significance. You guys are. When you are working with other people, you have the platform to be significant. And if you can get in a conflict situation to their hearts, you will be remembered. So what a significant place and time to be in. Thank you for your time. Book that session. Let's continue this chat. It's not going to cost you anything. So let's book a session and let's just connect one-on-one and chat. I would love to hear where you are at, and if I can bring you more, about this or share more about this. Yeah, I think that's it from us. Bye-bye, and see you soon.
Wait. One thing. We're going to send more stuff, actually. So even if you don't want to book the session, there's more stuff coming that we want to send to you guys, because there is so much more that we can share. And we want you guys to have it. We think that you are doing significant work, so we want to support that. And
so expect a few emails from us, and then will there be video clips in it and stuff? I think so. So little short teaching videos. Just watch it. It's on us. Go and make a difference. We are your biggest fans and support all the way. Bye-bye.